the scripture is very clear that alcohol in and of itself is not an evil. It's the overuse of it that is the evil. It's the drunkenness that
Okay.
is the evil. Now, I know some people will look at the references to wine that are in the scriptures in the Old and New Testament, and they'll say that's basically grape juice. It's not. It's not fermented wine. Well, there's a number of problems with that. One is, and I know I've seen some people try to counter this, is that the ancient world didn't have the ability to make grape juice that didn't ferment. They really just didn't. Like the conditions were not there, the technology
Mm,
wasn't there. As soon as you get the juice out of a grape, it begins to ferment. You have to halt it in some way, and most ancient cultures cannot do that. But here's the other thing: the words in both Hebrew and Greek, the two languages in which the scripture are written, that that the words for wine both come from verbs meaning to ferment.
mm,
So the idea of unfermented, fermented thing is kind of like, what are you even talking about? You
yeah.
know. Um, so the problem is drunkenness, and also to me one of the things that's very clear about the use of wine in particular in the scriptures is wine is a sacrifice to God. It's used as a sacrifice to God in the Old Testament. Like this is part of the Levitical sacrificial system, but it's also used when Christ Himself says, "This is how I expect you to do my memorial, my sacrifice." When he, which we often translate as "in remembrance of me," but it's actually um, as my remembrance, which is not just about thinking about Him, but this is a reference to offering sacrifices to your God as these remembrances before your God, right? And so
Mhm.
often you see in the Old Testament, this is offered as a memorial before God. And it's not about like, hey, God, remember the time when, no, 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 no. It's you're remembering people in front of God. This is part of sacrifice to God. So when He gives the Eucharist, He gives it with bread and with wine. Wine is one of the things that's offered, right?
Yeah.
So there is a place for alcohol in the Christian life, but not drunkenness,
Okay.
not excess, right? I mean, and it's not even like even the Psalms make reference to wine making men's hearts glad.
Mhm.
That's not just a little sip. That's more than a sip. But
Okay.
gladness is different from drunkenness,
So that's okay.
right? Yeah, absolutely.
So
Not
I've
drunkenness,
boycotted.
not drunkenness, but
Okay.
within moderation. And what moderation is for each person is going to vary, because if
Yeah.
someone's an alcoholic, then moderation means never.
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
you
Yeah.
know, but if you're 6'2" and I can't remember exactly how much I weigh now, but more than I want to, then moderation for me is probably going to be different than it is for you, because I'm guessing you probably weigh a lot less than I do, and you're female, so that means that your body chemistry functions differently than mine. So
Yeah.
moderation is going to be a different amount for you than it would be for me.
I get that. And, yeah, I think I've been a little bit legalistic on that, and I've boycotted alcohol altogether for the past couple years. But I think that was a part of my journey towards Christ and, a carrying of my cross that I needed to do. But in recent times, I've been, I'm now partaking in communion now that I am an Orthodox Christian and have been baptized. And so I'm kind of reframing my perspective around wine and just understanding it. Like in college, I abused it, like we're chugging it out of the box wine things and a whole group of people. It's different when you're having a little bit and it's something sacred and a part of your coming closer to Christ.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm healing in this.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things that the Eucharist should kind of point us toward, because the Eucharist is a banquet, right? So a banquet, a kind of communal celebratory meal where there's wine on the table is different from the college frat party or sorority party where you're
Yeah,
chugging it out of a box.
exactly.
Those are not the same thing. The whole point of chugging it is to get drunk. That's
Yeah,
what you're trying to achieve,
yeah,
you know, and getting there as fast as possible usually. Now, what I would say though is if someone's been abstaining, if someone has a sense of like, I don't know if this is a right or wrong, and so I'm going to abstain. My opinion is go with that.
mhm,
Like if you feel like your conscience would be seared by partaking in it, even in a small social way, then I certainly wouldn't tell someone, no, you must have a drink. Like never. I would never ever say that. And it is a traditional Christian thing to do, to refrain for
yeah,
ascetical purposes, for the
mhm,
purpose of training yourself. So it is a good thing to refrain. That doesn't mean that those who who sometimes don't refrain are committing a sin.
Right.
If they're getting drunk, yes, that is sin.
Now, would there be a difference because people will make the correlation between alcohol, like liquor and spirits, like hard liquor. This is different. There's a different take on that than wine per se?
I mean, to me, it's a difference of degree and not of kind, right? So obviously, liquor, because there's a much, much higher alcohol content, is going to get you to drunkenness much faster
Mhm.
than wine or beer or hard cider, you know. But again, like there's very strong beers, there's very strong wines, very strong hard ciders that are in some cases actually stronger than some liquors, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, it's. I would not say that there is a difference of kind, right? Like it's not sinful to have a sip of whiskey and not to have a cup of wine. Like and you know, it's not simple to have a glass of wine. It's just kind of know what your own limit is
Yeah.
and be careful and you know
Okay.
thinking about it. Yeah.
So it's degree. It's not like you're drinking in spirits with hard liquor.
Yeah, the word that's used for spirits for liquor, there's a long history as to why that word is used. But no, you are not drinking in a demon
Okay.
by having, you know, a little vodka.
Okay.
That's not a demon. Even though the word spirits is used for that, it's not. It's not what that means.